Welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. J-Mac, how you doing on a Thursday morning, brother?
Doing well. Dallas Goedert Day. Happy Dallas Goedert Day. Weren't expecting earlier in the offseason for Dallas Goedert to be back. So it's a big positive move, I would say, for the short term in the Eagles' quest to repeat.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Goddard takes a pay cut, John, goes from $14.5, which he was supposed to get this year, down to $10 million guaranteed cash with a $1 million incentive. Look, it's a great move, I think, for the Eagles, but you could also look at it and say it's a good move for Goddard too. I mean, I don't know what his options were at this point in the year if he didn't end up playing in Philly, and he is on the other side of 30, obviously. But overall, a great move, and Goddard does take a pay cut to get the deal done, and he is back officially for the 2025 season.
Yeah, at one point, I think even the Eagles didn't think they'd be getting him back.
Right.
I think both sides had pretty much come to the conclusion that it wasn't going to work out. And but one thing about Howie is he's stubborn, and sometimes stubborn helps because he was going to hold out for a fourth round pick, be it like I joked, be it 20. He wasn't going to get it this year, but be it 2026, even 2020, he'll do it in 2028. He doesn't care. He was going to get that fourth round pick. And then the complications from the salary cap perspective of post June 1st, it's easier to trade somebody pre June 1st, but it's easy. It would have been easier for the Eagles to move Dallas post June 1st. And by post June 1st, all the budgeting, all the plans have been made by other teams, so it restricts the number of teams that are willing to go after what would be a highly paid tight end in most organizations. Even this one for 1 year, even with a pay cut, still somewhat highly paid. So makes it more difficult. Was a complicated thing, but Howie's got a good beat on the market. It's one of the many positives to him, and he's proven that many times.
Right.
Most recently, James Bradbury. You go back to Zach Ertz. That was clear. It was coming for a long time before it finally came at the trade deadline. So that if you want to look at it just from the short term perspective, that stubbornness helped the Eagles this time, and they were able to get a player that's obviously better, significantly better than every other tight end on the roster.
Right.
They were able to get him back, and they got him back at basically a $4 million plus discount.
Pretty good stuff there, John. That means 10 out of 11 offensive starters are returning to this offense that just won a Super Bowl. Obviously, the defense was a big part of that as well. But on the offensive side of the ball, John, I don't know if you could ask for much more than that coming off a Super Bowl when your roster is young, by the way. It's not like we got a bunch of 30-year-olds. Goddard's one of the oldest guys on offense outside of Lane Johnson. 10 of 11 starters will return, Johnny Mac, which I think means, come on, offense. Come on, offense. We need you this year. So 10 of 11, John, returning.
Well, it says, we've talked about it. I mean, the Eagles' offense is, on paper, it's the best offense in the NFL. I mean, it's loaded. You have the best offensive line. You have the best running back. You have a top-tier quarterback. You might have the best wide receiver duo. You have a top five-ish tight end. It's the best offense in the NFL if you go from player to player to player. With the one, only question being Tyler Steen at right guard. Can he hold off? But you got a bunch of bodies.
Right. I feel pretty good. I don't know if I feel good about Steen, John, but I feel good about the collection of talent there that Jeff Stoutland will make one of them ready to play.
Yeah, you would think at least the competency level. I don't think, I think
John,
you're
we
getting
got a lot of bodies in there, man. We got Kendall Lamb, we got Matt Pryor, we got Tyler Steen, we got Trevor Keegan, we got Miles Hinton, Cam Williams, and Drew Kendall. I mean, we got a lot of bodies on that offensive line.
Yeah, but you have, and I'm not. Lamb's a tackle, Kendall's a center. so some of those names I'm going to take out right away. But as we said on tight end, if you're projecting without Goddard, that ain't good.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of bodies,
Right.
but it ain't good. They have a bunch of bodies to potentially play right guard. Probably the best, the one the highest floor, if you're doing it from a projection standpoint, is probably Pryor. He did it last year for Chicago. And he did it pretty well, albeit for a bad team. That's probably your highest floor. The highest ceiling, you got a bunch of Kenyon Green, obviously, with the first round pedigree, but
Right.
awful. I mean, he was awful.
I know. I just feel good about Stoutland being able to do it. I mean, we didn't think Beckham was going to play guard, at this point last year. So I just feel like even guys who aren't guards, even guys who might not be, I think somebody's going to emerge. I'm not sure who it is yet. We'll see. But John, I got to get this in, man. Check it out. We need to clap it up early for my boy Jason A-Team. He drops $100 banger in here, super chat. 5 minutes into the show for the JAKIB fan. Jason A-Team, thank you, brother. One of our legend members, one of our biggest supporters on here. Jason, thank you, man. I appreciate that so much. Goes a long way in helping the channel, and you started it off early today. Thank you, A-Team. Appreciate it. He says, for the JAKIB fam, thank you, brother. Morning, McMullen and Zander. Starting my work week off right. So happy to keep Goedert. How do you think the Eagles are so good at getting players to take pay cuts? It amazes me that they always get away with it all the time, and it feels good to still be the champs. Yes, it does, Jason A-Team. It's a good question there, Johnny Mac.
Well, there's a lot of angles to that. One, nobody likes taking a pay cut. I mean, Josh didn't like it last year. Dallas isn't going to like it this year. But again, Howie has a good beat on the market. And generally when he does that, did it with Slay a couple of years ago when they worked it out with Slay. Did it with Hassan Reddick, which didn't work out. That's one of the few that didn't work out. But if he has a good feel for the market, and I think the belief was that there was going to be more guaranteed money there elsewhere than there was by Dallas Goedert's camp. So number one, that helps because he sees, well, the contract that he wanted is not out there from others. Maybe could have gotten a little bit more money, but then comes the team, from a football, he loves his teammates. He's been here for 7 years. It's the best team in football. So while I compare, I joke they sweated, using the swatted term for these nutball political extremists who swat their people that don't agree with them. The Eagles sweated. Yeah. The Eagles sweated Dallas Goedert. Now, again, the human nature of that is he going, well, look what happened to Josh. Josh took over as the leader of the edge room. Brandon Graham explained for the first time in his last year. He's still playing for a contract next year, and Josh cashed in big. Now, Josh is a little bit younger, so I think it's going to be more difficult for Dallas. But he loves his teammates. This team's going to be successful. It's just a matter of how successful. And that's where I compare it to Miles Sanders. Now, only from the money standpoint. If you remember when Miles left, because Miles was a free agent, it's not a similar situation from that. But when he left, if you remember at the time, he got one of the best running back contracts. I think he got the best in free agency. But he went to Carolina. Just a horrible. I think
he was like second or third that year.
That was just a horrible football team. A horrible football team.
Yeah, and it didn't work out for Miles, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it ruined basically his career. He's going to try to reclaim it in Dallas this year as a backup, or try to bite off Blue, a day 3 rookie. Look, it's just a bad situation. So there might have been a Carolina type team, a Tennessee type team. And, as we get to talk to Dallas, we'll get more information. There might have been a team willing to offer a little bit more money, but do you really want to go to that team? where you're not going to have success, you know, he's got a chance to really have another big season with one of the best teams in football and then get to free agency totally, you know, with no encumbrances.
Yeah, right. And then at
I
that
mean,
point, it might not matter. Not that it won't matter, but if he's 31 and he gets his big he's not looking for multiple
no,
contracts at
you're
that
looking
point.
for 2 years at that
Yeah.
point. And even if you get a 1-year, $15 million deal, you know, it's mission accomplished. So, you know, for those concerned about, yeah, there's going to be some ill will from a business standpoint. Sometimes the business of football gets ugly, and this is one of those ugly parts. But you saw it with Josh. You know, they're playing for their next contract anyway. They got to play well, and they love their teammates. And when you're winning, everything's fun. It takes care of itself.
Right.
And I think that's what's going to happen. And plus, Dallas is a professional. I mean, he's not going to be out there.
Yeah, no.
Complaining. So, yeah, this is a pleasant surprise from the Eagles' perspective to be able to get this player back. And really, if you think about their offseason, a little bit of a shift from their offseason, which was more about the long-term 2026 coming with Jalen Carter, et cetera. You know, keeping as much cash on hand as possible. And they're able to save, you know, $4 million plus bucks and get a really good tight end back instead of trying to cobble things together with a bunch of backups,
Right.
which is where it was headed.
Any idea what that incentive is going to be for Goedert? Or is it like, would it be the catches, passing yard, just I guess something like that? Or
I would imagine, and I haven't seen it yet, but I would imagine it'd be game related, you know, because he's missed 17 games.
Okay. Right. He
over
only
the
played 10
past-
games last year, right?
Yeah, that would be my guess. Again, till the contract is actually filed, you probably not going to know. Certain guys, maybe Field Yates or somebody, will get it, but my guess would be tied to playing actual games.
John, what does this mean in your opinion for Goddard's future? Now, I know he's here for 1 year, but do you think that's it? I mean, you look at Kittle, and I'm not comparing the two players. I'm just comparing the scenarios. Kittle is about 1.5 years older than Goddard. He's going to turn 32 in October. Goddard will turn 31 in January at the end of the season. So a year and a couple months older than him. But Kittle gets the new contract. He'll be 32 this season. Goddard won't be 32 basically until his next playing season. So he's got an extra year on him. What do you think the future holds for Dallas Goedert? And is there a small chance it's in Philly past this year?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's going to be similar to Josh. I think that's the perfect comparison.
Yeah.
Even if he plays well as Josh did this year, he's going to price himself out because the Eagles have to deal with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, and then the year after Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they got to make these difficult decisions. Yeah, I don't see any way. Even if he plays at an all-pro level. And I don't like, you know, Kittle's a 5-time all-pro, I think, 5-6-time all-pro. And even I don't like that contract at his age.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, I mean, he's been the best tight end in football for a while. Dallas has had that potential to be the top 5 guy, and he's been on the cusp of that.
Yeah. Just struggles to stay on the field, John. That's really all it is for Goddard.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's at the Kittle level if he played 17 games.
No, but I think he would be top 5 if he played 17 games for the last couple of years.
I think
or 15.
I think he's already in the conversation. So I think people would certainly from a depending on what you want, like people get more excited by the high volume pass catchers. But if you want an actual guy who can play old school tight end, who can catch the football, who can block and competently, then you're talking, you know, he's probably already 2 or 3 because there aren't many of those guys led by Kittle. There aren't many of those guys. So it depends on you want, but there's guys who get excited by most fans, I would say, get excited by the number of receptions and touchdowns. And
Right.
for a number of reasons, that's not going to happen here because you have so much other talent.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I brought it up is because you brought up the point yesterday. Like, if Goedert played somewhere else, right, and reached the open market, and you speculated on what the right fit for him was, it'd be the Eagles. Like, he's the perfect tight end right now for this offense, and that's where I wondered if maybe, I don't know, maybe, he doesn't have a great season, and you can get him for a couple years at $10 million a year, $8 million a year, $9 million a year. And I don't think that'll happen, but and John, I want to throw this question out to you as well. And I will say that this is unlikely, but I think it's worth an ask to get the information out or to get your opinion on it. I got asked this yesterday when I put up a post about Goedert at Zander. Is there any way the Eagles could now trade him now that his contract is a little bit more favorable? Now, I responded and said, it's a fair question. I would say it's unlikely at this point, but is that something that you think is possible? Like, you rework the deal, the contract is now maybe a little bit more favorable. I don't know if it even is, by the way. It might not be favorable depending on the void years and stuff, but any chance this is a more favorable move and now Goedert could be traded?
No, certainly not in the short term. Now, if things go south, and which I don't see any way they could go south other than the quarterback getting hurt, but that's every team. Maybe at the trade deadline. No, he's a big part of the team now, and the Eagles take this as a stroke of good luck, of good fortune, that they were able to get him back. Because I mean, if he agreed to a pay cut, we wouldn't have had all this angst right away.
Right.
So this is where they're comfortable at. And no, he's not getting traded.
I agree. I agree. Just wanted to clarify on that. Again, Jason 18, thank you, brother, for the super chat, man. We appreciate that. It goes a long way. And that's a big super there. So thank you, brother, for doing it. Thank you for, as you mentioned in the chat, paying it forward. A-Team, I'll do the same, brother. I'll do something for somebody today because I appreciate you going out there and doing that for us. So good stuff there.